revealed live. Why you have to run more ads now and expand your business right now before the interest rates rise and you have to spend more money. Hang on a sec. I'm going to do this and spend more money on the other. Here, I'm not an economist. So, interest rates. And this is about the Federal Reserve needs to expand now before. So, let me start that over. Why your business needs to now borrowing. The idea is simple. Every day I go live for about 10 minutes. We talk about digital marketing. In the process of talking about digital marketing, we have to discuss life that affect your business and your involves money, that involves your values. In the process, I reveal the hidden secrets of the universe at no extra charge. You're welcome. Again, I'm not an economist. I'm a college dropout. What do I know? However, their revenue substantially and immediately by getting them more customers through highly targeted paid advertising, in-market buyer prospect advertising. My marketing company that I work with has the data, has proprietary data that informs us who is searching for your business and when. Who your ideal customer is determines how effective your marketing will be. And in real time, they're searching for your business. And we find them and we get results over 5x ROI in 30 days. ROAS, however you want to say it, you put money in, you get a bunch of money out. And you repeat that over and over again. That's it. So, enough about that stuff. Today, Janet Yellen was reported to be talking about raising the interest rates at the Federal Reserve. Now, this isn't about economic news. I'm not an economist, like I said. I'm a college dropout. I dropped out of art school. So take it with a grain of salt. You know what to do. Do your own research, make your own decisions. My viewers already know that. They make their own decisions. So, but we're looking at a parallel in the patterns of history because everything happens in cycles with variation. Here's one of the secrets of the universe. Everything that is happening has happened before. This is an iteration of a similar thing. For example, this pandemic that the world experienced, we've experienced something similar before 100 years ago. economies of nations never reinvent the wheel. There's always been predecessors, preceding events. There's always been patterns that are recognizable, but they're not identical. So the reason that your company needs to expand now is because money is cheap, and it's not going to be cheap for much longer. The Federal Reserve sets the interest rate, and the Federal Reserve is an independent entity. They're not federal. They're not the government. They loan money to the government. They print the money and they provide it to the government and make a profit off of that interest. They make a tremendous profit. They're one of the best businesses, one of the best business models in the world. The Federal Reserve is actually a conglomerate of banks that formed many years ago that is essentially like a banking cartel. And they print the money. They provide the money for the nation. So they raise interest rates. The interest rates are the cost of borrowing. So, for example, right now, it's cheap to get a loan to buy property or to get a loan for your business because the interest rates are low. But when the Federal Reserve is talking about raising the interest rates, the word is like they might raise the interest rates a little bit. You know they're going to raise them a lot. You can pretty much translate everything they say as like not the opposite, but close to the opposite. Like if they say they're going to raise the interest rates by a little, they're going to raise them by a lot. So that is because the money has expanded so much. The money supply has expanded so much. The national debt surpassed 28 trillion. 28 trillion. Now, number one, like debt gets a bad rap because it gets people in a lot of trouble. But debt is what pays for most of the world to function. It's not a bad thing. If you listen to Dave Ramsey, you might believe debt is a bad thing and you should never be in debt. Again, do what you want. I'm not an economist. What do I know? However, the way the system is set up, the debt, the national debt, etc., is going to just increase forever. It's never going to go down. It's never going to be lowered. At least not under the current Federal Reserve System. It will always continue to increase because we live in a world of abundance. There's an abundance of money on this planet. And my ultimate goal, the reason I go live, the reason I put myself out there is because I want people to prosper. I want me to prosper and I want you to prosper and I want everyone to prosper. So it should be clear that debt is not always bad when it's used to expand and grow your business. The kind of debt that is bad is the consumer debt, where people use credit to buy things that are not assets, they're liabilities. That's when you get into trouble. So that's the debt that most people understand, and that's the debt that gets you into trouble. But in this case, low interest rates mean businesses can borrow extensively at a low cost. And when that raises with in tandem with the increased money supply, we might witness a parallel, a similar pattern to what happened in the 1970s and early 80s. Stagflation, stagnant inflation, stagnant business because it costs too much to borrow, and inflation because of the expanding money supply. There are differences, though. It's not exactly the same thing as what happened in the early 70s, the 70s, early 80s. Because back then, oil prices were really high. Now they're really low. So this isn't identical to that, but so I'm not saying this is exactly the same thing. But I am saying that we're most likely going to see similar patterns. And if the Fed increases the increases interest rates, we will probably witness some form of stagflation unless something changes. As humans, as people using money, we always want to predict things. We can't really predict things accurately, but we can just make educated guesses. So that's all this is. In fact, this is a non-educated guess. Like I said, I'm a college dropout, dropped out of art school. Yes, I'm bragging about that. I'm not complaining about it. I got average grades in school and high school, but one of the classes that this even surprised me, one of the classes I did really well at in high school was economics. I got straight A's in economics. Even though math is not my thing, I somehow got the concepts because I'm one of those big picture thinkers and need help with the details. It's hard for me to focus on details. So I know that, and I'm just using that as a disclaimer. So I'm not proud of that. Like, I would really love to focus on details and big picture. But we're all growing, we're all improving as best we can. So anyway, so this is basically Keynesian economic theory that that increased money supply promotes economic growth. And it kind of does, because if you got your if you're smart about your stimulus check, you would have moved that money right back into the economy. That's why they call it currency. And if you weren't so smart about that, you put it in a savings account. And your typical savings account does not increase your money nowadays. So the increased money supply, I don't think is a bad thing. I don't think it will definitely not fix everything. But we are seeing economic growth, thankfully. And that's the kind of idea of it. So if the Fed raises the interest rates, it will slow down the economic growth because businesses, it will cost more for businesses to borrow. So that's my point. We might see stagflation. That would be bad. but we're witnessing not identical circumstances to the last era of stagflation. Not identical, but similar. Big government spending, and the Fed does control inflation. There's this notion that there's a war against inflation, but that's not real. The Fed controls. They have tools that they control the inflation. But I won't get into that. I'm going to wrap it up. I won't get into the reality that inflation is a hidden tax. I won't even talk about that this episode. I'm going to wrap it up there. And I welcome your comments, your likes and shares, and even your criticisms. And if you think I'm an idiot, please leave a comment about that. If you think you know more than me, please tell me what you know, because I want to learn. I always want to learn. And that's my show. I have spoken.